Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live at the twitch.tv/Steve and Larson, as well as the youtube.com/Steve and Larson. This coming Saturday, we're going to be hanging out on our various live platforms watching NXT's Vengeance Day. What is that, like 5 p.m. Pacific, probably?
Probably, I don't know.
Coming to you from Charlotte. They're on the road for their premium live events.
Yes.
So we're going to be checking that out live. So join us for that. We're talking about later on in the month because, look, we got the next weekend after that. Well, that's Super Bowl Sunday, so we're both going to be doing stuff.
Weekend after that is
Elimination Chamber. So that's
ACW Hot Stuff.
Correct. Hot Stuff. That's right. If you're in the Northern California area, Hot Stuff is coming up February 18th. It's actually going to be starting after Elimination Chamber. So after the show, we're going to run on down there and go hang out at Action Coast Wrestling Hot Stuff. So be sure to check that out. If you want some live pro wrestling, go check that out.
Yes.
And then, of course, we've got after that, the next weekend, we're thinking about doing a subathon.
Yeah.
Where we're going to stream for 5 hours. But if we get enough subs and channel members and patrons or whatever it is,
we'll go more.
We'll continue. We'll keep on going. We'll keep the party going, man. We'll keep
for a maximum of 12 hours.
Yeah, right. So that's going down on our live places of distribution on today's episode of Going In Raw. We're going to talk about AEW Dynamite. The King of Television reigns supreme. Larson, heck of a match. A couple of really, really good matches on Dynamite last night. We're going to talk about that. We've also got a lot of news today. AEW potentially starting a streaming service. Shawn Michaels talking about the release of Mandy Rose. But first, let's talk about Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. So, of course, Brock went off on the ringside area after he was eliminated from the Royal Rumble by Bobby Lashley this past Saturday. Picked up the ring steps, slammed him on the announce table, took the hood of the announce table, threw it in the ring.
What'd I say? It was like a bear.
Roughed up a ref.
Yeah.
All those things. So, according to Fightful Select, all of Brock's actions may have led to some backstage heat. Fightful reports that they were told that much of Brock's ringside tantrum wasn't planned, including the spot I mentioned where he threw the announce table hood into the ring. But apparently the spot that's getting Brock the most heat was his ringside attack of ref Eddie Orengo. Fightful states, quote, "We're told that initially it looked like he possibly, Eddie, sustained a foot injury, but we're not sure of the status of Orengo. He had to sell to the back, and we're told missed an integral spot towards the end of the match." So where was here? One source told Fightful, quote, "Heat is a relative term for Brock Lesnar. He's not going to get in trouble. He's certainly not. He's not going to be fired like Crime Time was. It's a new regime, new rules. I'm not sure anyone involved was mad or not, but some people backstage were."
You know, the thing about Brock Lesnar is that he legitimately seems like a scary individual. I mean, I've seen him do charity stuff, and he seems, like he can be a lovely guy.
Presence, just his presence,
is
really terrifying. Intimidating.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Having been in it briefly.
But I mean, that's one thing that I appreciate, Brock, is that when he's in there, you don't know what's going to happen. He might almost knock out Braun Strowman as a receipt for catching a wayward knee. Or in this case, when he muscled that ref with little effort over the barricade. It looked mean. It looked physical. It looked scary, Larson.
And it probably was really all those things in reality.
Yeah. But I kind of understand, But I kind of understand why, if you have to then change your plans towards the finish of the Rumble, but at the same time, they're paying Brock a lot of money. I've always seen it as Brock's trying to give WWE the most bang for their buck. While I'm here, I might as well make it, make the biggest impact I can.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Well, one of Brock's greatest strengths is believability.
Yeah.
And then when his direction after he's eliminated is have a fit ringside, and he goes and tears shit up and does stuff that's unpredictable.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to excuse him going off book to the extent that he may have injured a ref, because that's unacceptable. He shouldn't be doing that. feeds into the idea that whatever he's doing is legitimate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to go to the announce table and bash it with the ring steps or, take the hood of it and throw it into the ring.
Mm-hmm.
But you shouldn't be dumping. It looked like the ref just about landed on his head when he got dumped over the barricade.
Yeah,
don't want to hurt anybody.
He flipped over like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's wrestling.
I understand there's a certain degree of physicality involved, but usually it's physicality that both parties are like, all right, that's what we're doing. Cool.
When I was Googling images possibly to use for the thumbnail for today's episode, I Googled something like Brock Lesnar mad or Brock Lesnar, whatever. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
And there was one still, and I'd forgotten that this had happened, but he's had such a long history. And it was a shot of him, and he was grabbing Mike Rome by the neck during an interview. Mm-hmm. And you see his fingers, and they're so tense and tight, and I'm like, oh God. That must fucking suck. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's part of the you got Brock Lesnar out there, scary stuff.
Maybe he just thinks, my thing is being intimidating and scary and being believable doing it, and so I got to be believable doing all those things that would lead people to think that I'm scary and intimidating.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah. Anyways, nothing's gonna happen to Brock. It's just a fun little story to talk about here.
Yeah, he's not getting suspended or anything like that now.
Yeah. No. Before we continue, though, I would like to mention this. Lanny Poffo passed away. Mm-hmm. The genius, Lanny Poffo.
The genius. Yeah.
He had a career that I think anybody would be happy with. Perhaps not. The legendary career that his brother, the Macho Man Randy Savage had.
I will say this: growing up watching wrestling, when he was the genius.
Yeah.
Of all the people that were on the roster during that time, he was probably top 5 in terms of people that left an impression on you.
Oh, sure. Okay.
He'd come out, he'd do his poems. I think a lot of time they were on a Frisbee, so he'd throw the Frisbee out in the crowd. There's a lot of very vivid memories I have watching wrestling as a kid, and one of them is watching Lanny Poffo.
That's cool. Yeah, he seemed like a really delightful guy. Like all the interviews I've always seen with him in the past, seemed like just a delightful guy. Seemed like a happy guy, and yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I could probably look it up, but I'm not sure how old he was. But
he was 68.
Was that okay? Oh wow, that's that's sad.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, our best wishes to the family.
Condolences to the family, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Let's talk about Shawn Michaels. And with Vengeance Day coming up, he took one of these media calls, and he addressed the Mandy Rose release situation. These transcripts come to you via our friendos over at Wrestle Talk. He said, obviously, not the ideal situation. I will say, if I'm allowed to say it for the record, I didn't fire her. I can't fire anybody. Only thing correct about any of that is that I handled creative. It was unfortunate. I think Mandy was fantastic for us. I absolutely enjoyed working with her. She was a phenomenal champion. We would have loved things to have gone different and been able to build our story with Roxanne, but I was put in a position to where I had to make the call creatively, so we did that. It's one of those things that I've learned doing this job. Nothing comes before the brand. We have to put those things forward, and that's what we did. Roxanne was certainly where we were going. Regardless. We just went a few weeks earlier than we had expected to. The great thing is, now we're right back on course, and I'll say honestly, I think the world of Mandy Rose. She was nothing but phenomenal with us. We'll miss her, but we're thrilled about Roxanne Perez being the NXT Women's Champion and taking us into the future. End quote, seemingly confirming that Roxanne is totally going to win.
Oh, yes.
Day. But that was kind of obvious anyways.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting that he made the point to say, hey, listen, I didn't pull the trigger on this one.
Yeah.
But he,
in terms of releasing her, seemingly he was the one to make the call to take the belt off her.
Well, you presented with the option of like, hey, she's being released creatively. It's in your court how to handle that.
That could be.
That's what I gather from that. He's not the one who made that decision, but he was the one who was then tasked with how do we get out of this creatively speaking. So yeah, I mean that's a difficult situation to be presented with. It's like, hey, this person's being released and, she's the champion. How are we going to handle this? I mean, I suppose there's any number of ways he could have done that, simply due to situations beyond our control. She's vacated the title and have Roxanne win it at that next, whatever that next.
Or have some sort of tournament to crown a new champion, something. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. But instead, he went with the shock win, which I think was probably a good way to go. But it also sort of defies, like, the initial report was like Matt Bloom had seen it, and the decision was made between him and Shawn Michaels. We gotta, she has to go, and it seemed a bit more complicated than that.
No, it was probably the right call given the circumstances to have Roxanne kind of do the surprise win over Mandy, because coming off the Iron Survivor Challenge, just the Saturday before that, it'd have been kind of strange to have Roxanne win that and then have Mandy vacate the title and then have some other sort of tournament or something to crown a new champion. But like Roxanne's like, I just won this thing, the first person to ever win this thing, and I have to fight a whole other field now to get a title shot. That'd be kind of strange.
Or even somebody else is like also a number one contender. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it made for a nice shock moment. Unfortunate for Mandy that I went down the way that it did.
Yeah.
But it's just unfortunately it sort of is what it is. I don't know. Anyways, let's talk about this. Do you want, Larson, an AEW streaming service? Would you plunk down cold hard cash for that?
I mean, it depends on the value.
Well, according to a recent Bloomberg feature on the company, the answer is yes, you will, Larson. Now, number one, we got to point this out real quick. This Bloomberg feature on Tony Khan features probably the most spectacular cover I've ever seen on any Bloomberg feature. We broke it down. We analyzed it in the pre-show today. We're going to be clipping that and putting that up as its own video over at the Friendo Club Wrestling channel. That's where we do our shorter stuff and put up clips of stuff. So you can check that. But it's something else. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So anyways, Bloomberg reported this. In March, Khan acquired the small but respected pro wrestling company Ring of Honor from Sinclair Broadcast Group for an undisclosed sum, adding a new crop of wrestlers, some intellectual property, and an extensive video library. AEW is also considering starting a streaming service, likely through a deal with its broadcast partner, Warner Brothers Discovery, according to a person familiar with management's thinking who asked not to be named. Last year, AEW broke $100 million in annual revenue for the first time, the person says. Also, a little note here on the Bloomberg thing. Tony Khan claims that the video game is going to come out this month.
Oh, wow.
In February.
So, they haven't announced a release date. I guess Tony just did.
Yeah, I guess sometime in February.
Sometime in February. Be a shock release. Here you go. It's out. It's out now.
Yeah, it's like, remember, like people would do that for a small period to, like, for albums. Be like, oh my God, this just dropped on their SoundCloud.
Yeah, or they do like Radiohead, the pay what you want model.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty
I paid my $10.
Yeah, I think I actually got like the for In Rainbows the
fancy stuff,
the vinyl and stuff.
Was that a pay what you want too?
No, that was a set price.
I'd like $1.
Yeah, that's interesting that it's going to release this month. I mean, if there's a place, I know Honor Club exists, so I know there's kind of a place already where you could watch Ring of Honor stuff. I don't know how. I mean, a while back when that first launched, we had a subscription to it. Like the UI wasn't that good on it. Like you search for something and be like, gosh, why can't I find what I'm looking for?
Yeah.
So if there's something where the UI is done well, it's easy to find things. Mm-hmm. I understand it'll take time for them to get like the entire back catalog of Ring of Honor stuff on there. But that being said, if there's a place you can easily sit and watch, whatever Ring of Honor show you want to, and you can get to that show in the span of 30 seconds. Yeah, that sounds like a good value.
Well, yeah, I mean, but if this is going to be AEW content, put it all together. Because here's the thing, like right now, if you want, let's say, an episode of Dynamite from 2 years ago, if you just want that, I think they might have it archived on like
on TNTdrama.com or something like that.
Well, I think it maybe, but I like the International Fight. If you have a VPN, like I think there's a way to get it there.
Oh, yeah.
But otherwise, like in terms of if you don't want to get all that stuff, maybe TNT's. But I would think that they would only go back a certain number of.
Let's see
episodes,
how far back they go.
We're gonna do some
like
Xfinity,
like if you're on Xfinity on demand, I don't know how far back that goes.
So Prime Joy Bearding says Fight has every show. Is that like Fight or just like the International Fight? Because I know that's where people watch AEW internationally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'd be super smart to have, sort of a WWE Network-esque thing for AEW.
Right. So here on TNT Drama, it only goes back as far as the December 2nd episode of Rampage. Let's check Dynamite, how far back that goes.
Mayor Plain Houston says, okay, Fight has all the AEW shows. But Nikhil says that.
All right, yeah, Dynamite goes back to December 7th. That's on.
Prime Joy Bearding says it's Fight International. Okay.
All right.
FTW Assassin says, doesn't New Japan World have AEW shows? I don't remember. I don't remember. It seems to be that there might be a market for this here in the good old United States.
Yeah.
But they can put bonus shit. Who knows? But yeah, if there's one place, it's like $10 a month for their backlog of pay-per-views and their entire backlog of pay-per-views, Rampage, Dynamite.
And
plus
the entirety of their TV run,
and the entirety of Ring of Honor as well, then I could see that being a pretty successful.
Yeah, for me
situation.
it would have to involve all of Ring of Honor in my mind for me to really think about paying for
That'd be weird if they split like Ring of Honor, like if Honor Club made its own thing and then AEW had its own. That would be a terrible business idea.
I know. I mean, if and when this AEW streaming service comes to be, they need to fold Honor Club into that, because otherwise I'm like, I've literally seen everything you've done, AEW. I've seen every pay-per-view, I've seen every episode of TV.
What a mark.
If
relive these awesome moments, Larson.
It's my job, Steve.
Relive those awesome moments.
But yeah, I'm sure there's ways I can relive those awesome moments without having to pay $10 a month,
yeah. Yeah, if it's everything, if they tried to do their own AEW network where they just got, and given that WWE's priority no longer is, grabbing tape libraries, maybe Tony Khan could start trying to do that, although WWE owns a shit ton of them. So yeah. I'm not sure how successful. What's up?
So on Xfinity, they have 3 episodes from season 1. So from late 2019, they have episode 4 and episode 8, and that's it. From last year, they have 4 episodes, and they're all towards the end of the year.
Okay.
And then they have everything up until this week's episode.
All right.
That's all they have for on demand.
Okay.
For Dynamite and Xfinity.
It's completely random.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, whatever. Wander This World says Brock is going to buy that ref a steak to apologize. Probably be like a pricey steak. I think Brock would probably do something cool for him.
I would hope so.
He's like, hey, pal, do you like Starbucks? He's like, kind of. Here's a $50 gift card.
I know. Yeah. All right.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, like the pumpkin bread's all right, so okay, thanks.
Yeah, some of their pastries are all right, huh?
Yeah.
Anyways, let's talk about AEW. Oh, quick reminder, patreon.com/Stephen Larson, $5 and up. YouTube channel members, right now you guys can check out the very first, our review, our first retro review of the year. We saw WCW Nitro episode 1. And then also when that goes, so that's available right now for you guys. This weekend, I'm going to put it up on the actual channel. Yeah. And that's also when the poll's going to go live for which retro review we're going to do next, which we're going to do that live this next Thursday. So I'm sorry, next Friday, a week from tomorrow is when we're going to do that. So the options are going to be the first episode of Raw or the first episode of ECW Hardcore TV.
Yes. Prediction. What do you think is going to win?
I think it's going to be Raw. I listened to Raw.
First Raw?
I listened to the Something to Wrestle With about the first episode of Raw, and it was pretty interesting stuff.
So I'll have to give that a listen then.
Yeah, it's good stuff. You go like halfway, because like the one that they just uploaded is like a mega episode. So it's like the first half of it, which is like 2 hours, is primetime wrestling, which is interesting stuff. But then I think it's like 2 hours in that they actually get to talk about Raw.
Okay.
Yeah. So
did you listen to any of the conversations about primetime wrestling? Because I wonder if any of that
I listened to the whole thing. Yeah.
If that informs the creation of Raw whatsoever,
Yeah, it does. It's sort of, I had wondered for the longest time, like, okay, wait a second, like what was their TV strategy before? It's kind of, so I've been looking at a lot of the stuff too, and it's sort of interesting to see how they had like kind of different strategies for like syndicated versus the USA stuff. So yeah, it does. It is, the primetime wrestling stuff is really interesting. So I'd recommend listening to it all if you have the time.
Very well.
AEW Dynamite last night. I thought it was a killer episode, man. I thought we had some good wrestling on it. Samoa Joe, one of my favorite matches. I think this beat that first match they had. I loved that one. I loved this match. I thought it was phenomenal. Samoa Joe just beat the crap out of Darby Allin.
He was throwing Darby Allin all over the place. There's times in the world of professional wrestling where two competitors have such great chemistry that you would honestly be able to watch them wrestle every week.
Mm-hmm.
Samoa Joe and Darby Allin are two such competitors.
Absolutely.
Where their individual strengths feed off each other. You got a case here where Darby loves throwing his body around and taking crazy bumps. You got someone like Samoa Joe who seemingly, at least in kayfabe, relishes and is joyful about opportunities to throw people around.
Yeah.
Everything about their three matches have been tons of fun, and every match did something new and creative with the idea of Samoa Joe throwing Darby Allin all over the place.
Yeah, that's the thing. I love that Darby came out with the thumbtack jacket, the thumbtack hoodie. And you see Joe, who's known as being one of the smarter characters in ring and out of ring, in the universe, out of the universe, one of the smarter guys in pro wrestling, trying to figure out on the fly, as soon as the bell rings, Darby Allin starts rushing at him. He's like, what do I...
But pretty quickly comes a solution. He wraps his towel around his arm and clotheslines Darby and takes the hoodie off.
I know. It was great. It was so awesome. But that first little moment of panic was so wonderful. Yeah, that whole match is absolutely great. So Samoa Joe beat Darby Allin to get that TNT title back. And then Wardlow showed up at the end of the episode. They cut to slap fights as soon as Wardlow was about to powerbomb some poor bastard out of the ring. I thought that was that was pretty cool. I hope that guy ended up okay. I can't turn the slap fights fast enough, though. Man,
oh yeah.
It's
I just record Dynamite, and once Dynamite's over, it doesn't go to slap fight.
It just stops. It stops immediately. It doesn't bother with an overrun or anything. No. Yeah, I was watching it live on the TBS app, and I was like, God, this is so ugly. It's so dumb. Anyways, so that happened. Jade Cargill was now 50-0. Had a pretty decent match. She was pretty dominant over Red Velvet in this match.
She was, but this is the closest I think we've come to Jade losing, because Red Velvet hits her finish during the match, and if not for the ref being distracted, I mean, she had a cover on Jade that was longer than a count of three. And by the time Aubrey came over to count the pinfall, Jade was able to kick out.
Yeah.
So that's the first time you really had a thought in your mind, oh, Jade could lose.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always sus about the whole idea that, oh, the ref's not there, so they're not kicking out. Because in my head, it's just like, oh, well, they don't hear the thing. So they know they have time. Once you hear this, then, oh, I got to kick out.
Yeah.
It's Jade Cargill.
I don't know if you get kicked in the head, maybe you don't have your wits about you enough to really be thinking, oh, okay, I don't hear the...
Maybe normal people, but come on, Jade Cargill, come on. Get out of here with that.
I mean, that's a fair point.
Brian Danielson, that is, defeated Timothy Thatcher. This match was awesome also. This was really, really good stuff. Roosh is up next. There was a wonky little bit of production here with MJF, though. Because so MJF and Konosuke Takeshita have like a little pull apart, thing backstage. And, and then Renee is there. She says, whoa, wait. Tony Khan has given Konosuke an eliminator match. MJF is furious, right?
Yeah.
Go to commercial, come back. We're backstage with like Roosh and them. MJF wanders in, cool as a cucumber, wearing a different shirt.
Yeah, it's a different outfit. Yeah.
And a bit that was obviously pre-taped. And I'm like, you probably should have put this in a different place on the show.
Yeah.
With the same shirt that he was wearing later.
Yeah. Or at least have a reason why he didn't have the same shirt on. Like if Takeshita had ripped the other shirt or something like that.
Right. Like I understand putting that where it was because it was after the Danielson match. Like that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you think about what was happening throughout that, it's like, why he was pissed about the Eliminator thing. Yeah. And then moments later, he walks in with a different shirt. Hey, what's going on, amigos?
Yeah, I know. Like none of that had happened. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
It's a bit of a continuity error there.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I thought so we're going to kick this off. We'll just kick this off with the Moxley Hangman match. Because I thought this was a really clever finish here. With Mox, like Hangman, he was doling out this punishment to Mox. Mox kicked out of a buckshot, and then in the end, Hangman. After that, Hangman was trying to like submit him, and Mox ended up getting like a small package for
He tried
the
to submit
win
it
here.
with his own move.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And then Mox ends up getting this weak ass roll up victory, and Hangman's like, "What the hell is that? I thought we were supposed to be beating the shit out of each other. I want like a finish. That's not it. Come on, that's not what we're doing here." And you could tell Mox was like, screw off. But Mox isn't going to be happy with that. So where do you see this going, man?
Oh, I mean, there's got to be a decisive final bout. Yeah, I would imagine. I'd be surprised if the feud ends here. Then probably have a match at Revolution or something. Maybe a lights out match. I'm not sure exactly, but I would think something that has some sort of stipulation involved in it. So it ups the stakes. And I don't know, maybe it's like a championship eliminator match where who wins this is next in line to face MJF or something, which would kind of telegraph Hangman winning because Mox just faced MJF, but nonetheless, something like that.
I would do so. Some people are saying lights out. I like this right here from Nature Fiend, last man standing. That's what I was thinking. It doesn't make sense because you got to knock the guy out, and then none of the goofy stuff where they just pile a bunch of shit on the other guy. These guys, the goal should be whatever match where the goal should be concuss the other guy.
It should be like you can only win by TKO.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just set that in the settings.
Yeah. Exactly.
Only TKO. It can't be first blood because that match would last about 90 seconds.
Yeah, you mean like we literally saw Mox
Blade
last night. He was sitting in the corner, was doing this, and then like 30 seconds later, he's bleeding from the same spot. And the camera couldn't cut away from him fast enough when he did this.
Yeah,
when he's doing this on his forehead.
I think it was. I think Mox. It's okay if you can kayfabe him blading. It's he's getting it's mind games. It's like, oh, you think you're tough? Look at me.
Look at this. Here, I'm the one making me bleed, not you.
Yeah, not you. You don't get that satisfaction. Only Mox can make Mox bleed.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
I guess so if you put it that way. Really fun bout. Super physical. Went all over the place. Got a power bomb through the timekeeper table. And down towards the finish, Hangman is like posing to the crowd real quick before doing a move. He like puts up, he says I'm number one twice essentially.
Yeah.
Puts up index fingers like this. And then it allows Mox an opportunity to hit him with a huge lariat. They're trading strikes. Page hits a super kick, a small package driver. Hangman going deep into his arsenal for that one.
I love that. Kicks out. I love that move. That's so nice looking.
So Page rolls the apron. He's looking for a buckshot. Instead, Mox counters with a Death Rider attempt. Page escapes that, hits a tombstone, rolls the apron, hits a buckshot. Mox kicks out of that. And that's when Page locks on the Bulldog choke. And Mox grabs Page by his head and just kind of rolls him over a little bit while Hangman still has the choke on to get the win. Afterwards, Claudia and Wheeler come in the ring. Not Mox's dad, who did walk him down to ringside.
Yeah.
Dan. His dad's name.
Dan Moxley.
So they're trying to keep Hangman away from Mox. Because Hangman's like, what the heck was this? I thought we were supposed to knock each other out. And then Mox gets up kind of flustered. He kind of pushes Hangman, and they talk some crap, and eventually everybody just kind of leaves.
Yeah, they'll flip each other out. It kind of
peters out.
Yeah, I like this, though, man. I like that it's and I don't know, maybe this will lead to, because, I get your point. Like, they should, I don't want Hangman to go after the world title. Yeah, because he's going to lose to MJF, and that's just going to be annoying. I'd like to see these guys team up. I think that'd be cool, because that's, what else are you going to do, It's like you make each other bleed, and that's whole Blackpool Combat's Club whole thing. And Hangman, typically, like with Dark Order, he'll sort of hang out with a faction, but he's not really part of Dark Order.
Yeah, he'll hang out with the faction kind of when it's convenient for him.
Right, exactly. So do this too, hang out with the Blackpool Combat Club. Wheeler Yuta will be like all upset about it.
What will Wheeler say to Hangman if he were to start hanging out?
You're not really part of our crew. Sure, kid.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, I could have you kicked out if I want to.
I could physically kick you out of this club if I want to.
Yeah, right. Oh. Anyways, after that, we had a nice little video package with Samoa Joe and Darby Allin for their match later on in the night. Then we had an interview with Jamie Hayter, between Jamie Hayter and the Bunny. And the Bunny's like, look, we're all impressed with your win over Emi Sakura last week. I think she outshined you, but nevertheless, I know you're not the type of champ to back down from a challenge, right? So here's a challenge for you, me and you, an eliminator match. And then Jamie's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then Renee's like, hold on a second, something's happening backstage. And then on the monitor behind them, Saraya and Tony Storm are beating the shit out of Britt Baker. And then Saraya's like, hey, this is our house. So, yeah.
Yeah. Next, we had the Acclaimed in tag team action against the Outrunners.
Outrunners, baby!
Steve's favorite tag team.
I manifested this shit.
You did. Quick match, Acclaimed win with their finish combo. Afterwards, Gun Club come to the ring, and Colton says, "Hey, that was a good match, but we're here to talk about something serious. We want a shot at your belts, and we want an answer right now." And then Bowen says, "You want an answer? You do realize you're entering the most popular tag team in wrestling. You're forever champs, the Acclaimed. And seeing as though the Acclaimed are the people's choice and the people's voice, why not ask the people?" So he polls the crowd. Do the Ass Boys deserve a title shot? Crowd boos, chant no. Bowen says, "The people have spoken. No." So Gun Club and Acclaim start pushing each other. Billy steps in and says, "I'm so sick of this. I'm done with all this. Go ahead, you guys. Beat the shit out of each other." And he leaves.
You know what I like about that moment too? He wasn't mic'd.
Yeah.
He was he was just walking away, but he's so huge and he's got a big voice.
Yeah.
But, you could just hear it, whatever.
You could totally pick it up.
Also, I love that the Outrunners started the match scissoring.
Yeah.
And great. The Acclaimed legitimately looked tickled by it until one of them hit him with a super kick, which was pretty funny in itself. Kick. Yeah.
So then Austin Gunn says, "Go ahead and do exactly what you did our entire childhood and turn your back on us. Why don't you do what you used to do and drown your sorrows in the bottom of a pill bottle?" Ooh. So that makes Billy upset. He turns around, goes back to the ring, gets right in Austin and Colton's face, says, "You think you've just put your big boy pants on, huh? Then just step up. You just stepped up and made the biggest mistake of your life. Do you think you have what it takes? Do you think you have what I had? Well, I guess we'll see next week on Dynamite. You got it. You got your tag title shot."
It's going to be very sad when Billy Gunn turns on the Acclaimed and his children win those tag titles, because I kind of feel like that's going to happen, dude.
It's entirely possible, yeah.
I thought this was really good stuff. Like when he, after Austin said that, and then Billy Gunn walks back, and Austin couldn't look at me. There was a little glitch with the microphone. They had to do that, but they covered that pretty well. Austin couldn't look Billy Gunn in the face because he immediately regretted what he said about the pill
he realized
bottle.
He crossed the line there, yeah.
And he was like, "Look at me." And the funny thing is, side by side, you just see how much of a fucking statue man Billy Gunn is compared to his. I mean, this is DNA here, man. But he is golly, he's huge.
Yeah, and he's easy 6'4", 6'5", probably 280. He is a massive
he's huge.
Being. He is humongous.
And he was like, "Look me in the eyes when I'm talking to you," very forcefully. And finally, Austin did. Yeah. I thought that was really, really good stuff. So, So yeah, it'll be interesting. It does seem like, I've seen this not just here in chats, and people are saying that on Twitter. I don't even think it's telegraphed all that much, but I could see it happening because I think it'd be an interesting story beat.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. And if it could even just be a situation where Billy's like, "I still don't really like my kids, but I feel bad."
He's making he's making things right
for the mistakes he made when they were younger. So.
It makes logical. It actually makes a lot of sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense. After that, we had a Jungle Boy interview. He says, "Well, I had an amazing time teaming with Hook, and he had my back when nobody else did. But I've done the tag team thing before. In fact, I've been all the way at the top of that mountain. I fell all the long way back down. But this year is not about that. This year I'll be champion again, but this time all by myself." And that was
all by myself. After that, we had, oh man, this is a fun match.
It was.
Konosuke Takeshita versus Brian Cage. Also, this is, I think, Takeshita's first sort of big win on cable TV, because most of his matches are high profile, big name opponents that, of course, he's going to lose. And this is Brian Cage now, the Ring of Honor, one of the Ring of Honor 6-man champions, just taking L after L.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, it's a really fun bout. Takeshita gets the win here. But yeah, everybody got their stuff in. Save for Brian Cage to get the Jewel Claw. Otherwise, maybe he would have won. Didn't happen, though.
No, this was a really, really fun match, though. Yeah,
it really was. It really was. The finish saw Takeshita hit a super kick. Cage follows with an F5, and so Cage puts Takeshita on the top rope. He goes up top too. Takeshita hits an avalanche brainbuster and follows with his jumping knee to get the win. Takeshita's got such a fun arsenal of moves.
He does, and he's so smooth.
He is. And I don't know if it's just how he lays his matches out, but it's just the way they build towards the finish. it gets you invested in the match.
Yeah, it does. It is. It's like one of those things that it's not really, you can't necessarily put your finger on it, but you can't turn away during his matches.
Yeah.
They're just so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus,
totally.
Brian Cage is he's so underrated. He just looks like big jack dude, but man, he is such a smooth wrestler as well. He is what he can do is very impressive. After that, we had a Jericho Appreciation Society interview. Renee asked Jericho if he has a reaction to Stark's cheating accusations. And he says, cheating? He says, we haven't worked together in 5 years and you accuse me of cheating? He says, let me say this, Renee. Ricky Starks, you didn't lose to a baseball bat. Any baseball bat here? Nope, no baseball bat. You lost to the Jericho Appreciation Society. And now you challenge us? How can I get another match with Chris Jericho? Well, we actually have an idea of how we can do that, don't we, Sammy? And Sammy's like, oh, yeah, we do. He says, Garcia and I put our heads together and we came up with a great idea. The Garcia-Guevara gauntlet, baby. And Garcia's like, hey, thanks, man. Then Renee says, okay, well, what is that? Garcia says, it's a pretty easy concept. He says, Ricky, first you're going to have to beat Cool Hand Ange. And if that happens, you'll have to beat Daddy Magic. That's right! And then if you beat Daddy Magic, you got to go up against either Guevara or myself. We'll let you know the night of. Then if you make it past us, then you can get your hands on Jericho. And Jericho says, Ricky, you don't call the shots around here. The Jericho Appreciation Society does. If you get through the gauntlet, I'm ready to whoop your ass.
Then we go to, I think it's Right State.
So is Jericho, hold on a second. Does that mean Jericho is the last piece of the gauntlet?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a win for Jericho. He'll make it through the gauntlet, and then Jericho, that'll be that's exactly. A good protected loss for
it is
Ricky
for
Starks there. Yeah.
So I believe it's Right State where the campus there in Dayton. They're in the gym. The Elite are on the basketball court. And so Matt says, check it out. It's your first ever 2-time trios champs, the Elite. And Kenny says, all right, Top Flight. I saw what you did. After a best of 7 in the ladder match, you got one up on the Young Bucks. How about next week you bring your friend AR Fox? We'll put these belts on the line, and you guys can shoot your shot. But when you shoot that shot, you better not miss because the Elite never miss. And then he hands Nick the ball because he's got a Nike Elite basketball in his hands. He hands to Nick. Nick drains the jumper. Nick's got good form on that jump shot there.
How many takes was this? It was all one shot, including the stuff with the firm. I mean, obviously they could just start over instead of going through with the firm stuff.
Yeah. Because the stuff preceding the jumper is not that long, so totally.
Do you
no
think
more than 3. His form looked really good.
Do you think once he hit it? Yeah, there's a lot of pressure though. We're rolling.
It is.
Okay,
it is.
We're rolling. They go through their lines. Okay, let me get this.
And Nick's like, my jumper's feeling wet today. One take.
I'm really curious how many takes it was. Wet.
So anyways, the firm steps in. Stokely says, let me get this straight. You 3 are doing nothing all week. And Paige says, you have the week off? Our guys don't have that luxury. We make them work every single week, and I want to keep that streak going. So how about this? The 3 of you against myself, Matt Hardy, Isaiah, Cassidy this Friday, and Rampage. And Kenny just says flat out, no, not going to happen. So Don Callis says, but hey, that's Matt Hardy. We get footage of you hitting him with a one-winged angel. We can make that into an NFT.
Yeah, man.
And make lots of money. And Hardy says, well, what about an NFT of me hitting you with a twist of fate? And Kenny says, okay, if it's about a match, you got it. This Friday on Rampage, the Elite versus whatever you guys call yourselves. We'll see you there. So then Cassidy steps up to Kenny and puts his arm around him. He says, I hope you're ready, because we are. And then he does this right in Kenny's ear.
Kenny's like, get away from me.
And
oh, man.
And so Paige tells Cutler to cut the camera. Matt's like, you don't talk to him that way. Now shut the damn camera off, Cutler, idiot.
This is pretty funny stuff here.
Yeah, it was.
He moaned in his ear. He's like, oh, man. After that, we had Bryan Danielson versus Timothy Thatcher. I really wish we had this Timothy Thatcher in NXT. I feel like we had like kind of a semi-lobotomized version of him. Because like he's so intense, but in NXT it was like, hey, let's talk about like technique. Let's have a class here, kids. And then he'd fuck people up and everything, but then they teamed him with Ciampa, and it was just weird.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. But yeah, this was a fun match. What you expect? Thatcher trying to destroy Danielson's arm. Danielson doing whatever he can to try to get out of the predicament of getting his arm wrecked.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun bout. So down towards the finish, Bryan's hitting a bunch of elbows. Thatcher catches one. Bryan gets his arm free, sinks on a chokehold. Thatcher then rams Danielson into the corner. With the rest there, we got a ref bump. So Thatcher hits the belly to back, and then MJF walks out towards the ring down the ramp, puts on the Dynamite Diamond ring, and then Takeshita flies in, and he and MJF start brawling. They go backstage. So then Thatcher locks on the Fujiwara armbar. Danielson gets his foot in the bottom rope. So Thatcher's hitting forearms to Bryan's injured shoulder, hits a belly to backs, looking for another. Instead, Bryan counters with the German suplex and hits a knee plus for the win. Then we go backstage. And now MJF has gotten the better of the brawl with Takeshita, throws a chair at him, tries to ram into a table back there. Takeshita reverses it, rams MJF into the table. They start hockey fighting. Refs, producers come to break it up, and that's when Renee steps in and says Tony Khan has made a eliminator match between Takeshita and MJF next week.
I like the when Bryan hit that knee plus on Thatcher. He sold it like a concussion. His arm was doing this weird stuff over here. Yeah. It was Thatcher is great, man. I hope we see more of him.
I hope
either
so too.
in AEW. I mean, I don't have time to check out Noah stuff, but all the clips they show of Thatcher are pretty great.
And Thatcher's great, but it'd be great to have him on for no other reason than to hear from Sacramento, California.
I know, right? I know.
Good to hear.
He's a very Sacramento looking dude too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, after that, so yeah, we do the MJF stuff, the eliminator. He's steamed. He's pissed. He's wearing a black shirt.
He's not happy about it. Yeah.
He's pissed. He's wearing a black shirt. Taz is not happy about it either.
Yeah. MJF says, I'm not wrestling on TV.
Yeah.
That was his thing when he won the title. I'm not wrestling on TV.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we have a quick Swerve Strickland promo. He says it's been a real relaxing couple of weeks for Swerve and the Mogul affiliates, and all since getting rid of some dead weight. He says, till I was re-triggered. He says, and then Dustin standing on my set with my interviewer. And then he says, the Rhodes family legacy gets under my skin with your father, Dusty Rhodes, giving Keith Lee the Limitless moniker. So since he's not here, Dustin's not here either, let's find some other second generation punk boy to get rid of on Rampage. That means you, Brian Pillman. And he says, isn't that right? What's the dude? Parker.
Well, first he says Parker, and then it was
Trench,
yeah.
Is this the first time he's been named, or has he been named before? Okay.
I think this is the first time he's been named.
Trench is the guy's name.
Yeah.
So after that, we have a Roosh interview. Now, keep in mind, this is moments after MJF wearing a black shirt.
3 minutes most. 3 minutes.
Pissed off. Just hot, right? Lexi is there doing the interview. Says next week, Roosh is going to be facing Bryan Danielson. How do you feel going into the match? And Roosh is like, well, then there's a knock on the door. MJF enters, says hello. He's got sunglasses on, cool as a cucumber.
He's got a gray shirt on here.
Yeah, it's like a lighter shirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, here's the deal. He says, my Spanish is como se dice mid, which was funny. He says, but I know one language that's universal. He opens a briefcase just full of money, right? $100 bills on top of each of the stacks of money.
$1 bills probably underneath. Yes.
Well, that's my question to you, Larson. Eyeballing this briefcase, how much money do you think, if they're all hundreds in there, hundreds, that's got to be like 50 large, right? If I know my movie conventions pretty well.
So I believe in every stack of, they have the bands around them.
Okay, yeah.
So every stack is 100. So 100 hundreds. So that'd be 10,000 per.
Yeah. And there were like 20 stacks in there.
Yeah.
$200,000?
Yeah, probably something like that.
That's like a tenth of his salary if he makes good money.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, he says he has 5 of them more.
Which is like half of his yearly salary.
Yeah,
let's say MJF makes $2 million.
Yeah. So yeah, he says, here, this one here, yours, free of charge. He hands it to Jose. He says, I got 5 more filled to the brim. All you got to do is beat Danielson by any means necessary. All I need you to do is rip Bryan Danielson's arm off and beat him over the head with it. Can you pull that off for me? He tells Jose to translate for Roosh. And so Jose does. And then Roosh responds, like he talks for a while in Spanish.
Well, I saw a translation later, and it's basically, I'll take your money and I'll do this, but then I'm going to take your title.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he said, what did he say? And Jose says, we have a deal. And he's like, okay, that sounded a lot more like we have a deal. He says, look, you don't have to like me. All you got to do is get the job done.
Mm-hmm. Then we got Red Velvet versus Jade Cargill. Before the match really begins, I think before the bell rings, Jade's in the ring holding up the TBS title, and then Red Velvet blasts her from behind. She gets the early advantage. on Jade. Eventually, Jade catches a super kick from Red Velvet. Misses a forearm, though, but hits a wheelbarrow suplex. That looked like it hurt.
Yeah, no kidding.
Got a 2 there. And then Jade dominates through picture-in-picture. Eventually, she misses a back elbow. Red Velvet hits a drop kick, a code breaker, some more kicks. But she runs to the pump kick. Jade gets a 2 count there. So then Kiera Hogan runs down to ringside and pushes Layla Gray into the ring steps. So another ref comes ringside to keep Kiera from interfering in the match. Aubrey's distracted by all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so while that's happening, Red Velvet hits her finish. Covers Jade for, I don't know, like a count of 4 or 5. Aubrey finally turns around, starts to make the count. Jade kicks out.
Mm-hmm.
So then Red Velvet puts on a short arm scissor. Jade powers her up. Red Velvet's looking for a sunset flip, and Jade just seemingly effortlessly picks her up.
Oh, yeah.
Right into Jaded for the win. The way they're getting creative with how they're getting into Jaded to finish matches has been really great.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see that, because it's been like every single match, it's like a different way she gets somebody into that position. She just doesn't pick them up and do it. Yeah.
Yep. It's great now it's like a situation where Jaded was already like a dominant move no one kicks out of. Now she can hit it at any time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I like that they're adding kind of wrinkles to Jade's offense.
Seems like Red Velvet's going to have a bone to pick with Kiera Hogan now, because she was inadvertently, I know she was trying to help, but cost her the win there, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. After that, we had a Britt Baker interview. Renee asked, hey, how you feeling? You just got your ass kicked in the parking lot. And she's like, Renee, it's fine. I'm fine. If that's how they want to play, that's fine. She says, but just remember, and then Ruby Soho steps in. She says, hey, man, I just heard about what happened. Are you good? She's like, am I good? Those are your girls. And Ruby's like, whoa. I had nothing to do with that. I don't know what you're talking about. Britt says, yeah, you were in WWE with them. You've known them a long time. So I find it weird that you just now showed up. She said, but yeah, I'm good. And then Jamie's like, she's great, actually. And then Ruby's like, fine. I can read a room. I'm out of here.
Yeah. I thought Ruby already made it pretty clear that she's Team AEW.
Which side is she going to ultimately be on, man?
Well, I mean, if this kind of stuff keeps happening, they're going to force her from Team AEW to Team WWE.
Yeah, right.
Ruby's made it perfectly clear thus far. I'm Team AEW because they gave me an opportunity here that I wasn't getting at the other place.
Yeah, right.
And so she's all in on AEW. But if Britt keeps giving her shit like this,
it's going to drive her away.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know why Toni Storm would be Team WWE. Like, they treat her like crap there.
Yeah, they did.
The whole pie thing.
Yeah, main roster especially. I mean, even in NXT, they didn't really do much with her.
No, they didn't. Remember, like, there was like little flashes of her like being a bad guy, which was always
and
cool.
that was the best stuff she did there. Yeah,
and it was the best stuff she did. Yeah. Anyways, man, Samoa Joe versus Darby Allin. Talked about this a little bit. Like I said, Darby comes to the ring with a hoodie just covered in thumbtacks. Joe's like, the hell am I supposed to do with this? But then, like you said, smart guy takes his towel and then is able to take it off. Joe gets a table from under the ring. As he's getting the table out, Darby hits the table, and this looked legit. It looked like the side of the table hit Joe in the temple. Yeah, and he was busted open from that.
It was like right here.
Yeah, it looked rough. There was a video of him later on.
Yeah, he's getting stitched up.
Yeah. So anyways, the rest of this, there's just a lot of just Joe just throwing. There was that one spot towards the end. It was before Darby ended up going threw the table, but Joe just like flung him over the top. Like it was, it was violent, but it wasn't like, here, I'm going to throw you and he just like threw him like garbage down. Oh man, it was great.
Yeah. There's a couple times where Joe was chuckling about just throwing Darby all over the place. So let me see here. So down towards the finish, Joe is going for a power bomb. Darby throws powder in his eyes to escape, hits code red, a stunner, puts the thumbtack hoodie back on, hits Joe with a coffin drop, but Joe kicks out. So Darby then goes down to the floor, gets some like a box cutter or something from under the ring, and starts cutting off the ropes that hold the canvas down on the ring. Starts peeling that back, yanking the padding out just to expose a corner so it's just wood. And so while Darby's doing that, Joe rolls to the floor by a table he's up against the barricade earlier. So Darby is looking for a suicide dive, and Joe just does that sidestep thing he does all the time, and it's great. But this sends Darby crashing through that table.
Yeah, right.
So then Joe puts him back in the ring, puts the thumbtack hoodie on the mat, power bombs Darby onto it, wraps the hoodie around his face, and starts choking him with it. So Darby gouges Joe in the eyes, blasts him with the chair, and so Joe's in the corner where the exposed wood is, and Darby goes up top. Well, Joe pushes the ref into the ropes, so Darby loses his footing. He gets crotched on the top turnbuckle, and then Joe hits him with the muscle buster off the second rope onto the exposed wood.
Oh, God.
To get the win.
That's rough, man. It
was awesome.
Yeah,
fantastic stuff.
It was pretty great.
So Joe's bleeding. He's celebrating his win. Wardlow comes to the ring. He hits Joe with some ground and pound. He's looking for a power bomb. Joe gets out of there as quickly as he can, rolls out of the ring. So then security rushes by Joe as Joe's getting up the ramp. Wardlow fights them off. And eventually power bombs one of the guards out of the ring onto all the other guards on the floor.
Yeah. And then previously on Slap Fight.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing Wardlow's going to win the TNT title back, probably a Revolution.
That makes sense. Yeah, we're a month out from that. Yeah.
I just don't want Joe to lose at this point because he's so much fun.
What do you think the women's title match is going to be at Revolution? Jamie Hayter.
That is a good question.
Because right now they're sort of beefing with. Are they going to do like are they going to do like a multi-woman match?
They could do like a 3-on-3 tag match. Yeah.
Hayter, Saraya, and Ruby, maybe.
Or maybe.
I don't know.
Or Hayter, Tony, and Ruby.
Hayter, Tony, Ruby. That's a possibility. Yeah, there's a bunch of different combinations there. I'm trying to think of something that would play into the whole "whose side are you on?"
Yeah. I mean, that could.
Yeah. Anyways, we've got a couple of question threads. If you want to take the Patreon, I will take the YouTube.
I got it.
All right. I am not there quite yet. But I'm going to be there soon. I promise.
All right, very well.
Yeah, channel members on YouTube and patrons, $5 and up, and patreon.com/Stephen Larson. Y'all have priority on questions here on the show. Let's take a look here. What we got? All right, here we go. Lincoln Phoenix says, will you keep covering WWE if it's sold to the Saudis? Yes, we will.
Yeah. I don't know how. I'm not going to feel great about it, but yeah, we will.
I mean, there's no way around it. It is what it is.
Yeah. I'm not going to feel good about it, but that's kind of like the foundation of our business is covering WWE's product. So
right, like we'd have to like cover, and we just wouldn't be able to do this for a living.
We'd have to get other jobs probably.
We'd have to cover something else, movies or some shit. I don't know. The Marvel Cinematic Universe. You want to see us phone some shit in?
Yeah, there you go. Nikyle says, just a general questions on refs. Why are wrestling referees so fragile compared to other combat sports where the refs have some combat training if something goes wrong? Example, when Brock was eliminated from the Royal Rumble and started choking that ref. I mean, for the most part, aside from Jack Daddy Ref, most of the refs aren't as physically imposing as the wrestlers.
Well, it's to sell the idea that these wrestlers
are larger than life,
are super powered
and characters. Yes.
They're super powered. So like mere mortals, simply there to enforce the rules.
Pinfalls, yes.
They're gonna be easily dispatchable by these superhumans, if you will.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Although, I feel like Jack Daddy Ref could probably handle his business inside the ring.
Oh, I would imagine so. Yeah, absolutely. He reached out to us on Facebook.
I know. It was
years ago. And I didn't check my Facebook, our company, our going and raw Facebook for the longest time. And I was like, oh, that's funny. Jack Daddy reached out to us. Tom Talks Rubbish with a super chat says, thanks you all for being nice people to me. Well, thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Hope you're doing well.
Pizza Core Kid here on YouTube says, an important match in WWE history doesn't happen for whatever reason. Oh, by the way, Stone Cold Steve Austin reviewed the Royal Rumble 2023 in YouTube Shorts form and on TikTok. I uploaded that today.
That's
we got the exclusive. Yeah, the whole Royal Rumble in 1 minute.
Wow.
That's as much effort as I'm willing to put into a Stone Cold review these days.
Yeah.
But it's actually really good. 8 minutes of Stone Cold, just, all that kind of stuff. You don't need that. 1 minute is fine. Anyways, it's a Wrestle Juice on the shorts there, and then on our TikTok at Friendo Club. Yeah. But anyways, this is a good question. An important match in WWE history doesn't happen for whatever reason, but the course of WWE today is still relatively the same. What match doesn't happen? So this isn't a match, but it's a moment that everybody says, big moment. It's the King of the Ring promo from Stone Cold. I think he would have been fine. He would have done some other kind of promo that would have blown up in T-shirt sales regardless.
The empty arena match. It changed nothing.
Oh, man. I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't know. I really don't know if, like... Okay, so one match clearly that changed the history of WWE was Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that... Mr. McMahon became a thing.
Yes.
I think that did change quite a bit.
But there's very few instances where one match was so pivotal to the rise and fall or the fortune of a particular company that if you take that match out of existence, like there'd be a massive butterfly effect. Everything would be different, you know?
So, like, you used to watch endlessly when you were a kid VHS tapes of, for example, like WrestleMania 3, right?
Yeah,
You've
one.
said
Yeah,
something
usually
like
one,
that.
yeah.
One?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's take Andre and Hogan out of the equation. I kind of feel like WWE would have gone on a similar route that it did. I don't know if that moment would have been.
By the point that match happened, Hogan was already like a household name. It wasn't like that launched him into another stratosphere.
Yeah.
As much as they want to frame it that way.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it was huge in that they got the moment of him body slamming Andre, which what?
Sorry, this is a good one. Broken Wheelchair says Booker T versus Buff Bagwell.
It is a good one. That might have torpedoed WCW, the brand in WWF kind of period.
If it was Booker T versus a good wrestler, you know, like if they had a killer match, I still don't know if that would have been enough. Because if you read was it the Guy Evans Nitro book? I forget, or maybe it was just a bunch of observers. Because I remember I was looking into that stuff, and like their approach to WCW was kind of hampered by like the lack of a TV slot anyways. Yeah. Like they were honest, they were looking at like Saturdays at 1 a.m. Mm-hmm. Like what? No, that's never going to be a thing. Like that's not going to work.
Yeah. I mean, if you take Hogan Andre out of it, I mean, it was a huge match for a variety of reasons, but if that match never happened, I don't think it hampers Hogan's success whatsoever.
Yeah. Like maybe, I mean, God, if Vince didn't have the financing for WrestleMania 1, which was related to his time slot on Jim Crockett, all that stuff, Ted Turner buy like that slot back from him or something for $1 million or something like that. And that's how he financed WrestleMania. Maybe, but I think Vince would have figured out a way to
some way or another
do it anyways.
Yeah. David Matushek here asks, considering that Wardlow has returned to AEW, will we see glimpses of changes to his character post-injury? Just no more Wardlow's World, please.
Nice haircut.
Yeah.
Good looking, man. Good. That haircut, I think that haircut is a huge step up from the man bun thing. Mm-hmm. You got a head of hair like that. You can look that sharp with like a close, a short head of hair. Do it, man. Handsome dude.
Yeah.
What was the question? Oh, changes to his character? Yeah, drop the stupid catchphrase. Wardlow's World. Yeah. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of Wardlow World shirt out there. If it was like, oh man, this is making me $1 million a month, yeah, go ahead and do it. But I don't think that's the case.
Problem is that a catchphrase is never going to make anybody $1 million a month.
That's the thing, yeah.
It's a bad catchphrase.
It's a bad catchphrase. David Martinez says, do you think Sting will retire before having one more title run? David, you know what? I was hoping Sting would come down at the end there and challenge Samoa Joe for that TNT title because I'll be months late, but I still want to see that. I'll feel somewhat vindicated.
No, I mean, Sting's there, I think, to help talent get over, and I don't see him winning the title. No, I don't.
If it's anything,
unless it's a tag title, maybe he and Darby win the tag title.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Speaking of titles, Brandon Monroe asked, when Cody and WWE eventually split the titles, who should be the Universal Champ on SmackDown first? Brandon says Gunther, but I wonder if you have different opinions. Put on Drew McIntyre. Yeah. And then have Gunther beat him for it.
Yeah, Drew. I like that. I think that's, dude. He needs his big, man. I texted you this yesterday, but
that segment was awesome.
We got to watch it on Smash Zone tonight. Like, somebody remind us. So the Drew McIntyre Roman Reigns contract signing that was in Thunderdome, that's like a top 3 Thunderdome moment.
It's so good.
Roman's evisceration of Drew McIntyre and Drew's inability to do anything but sit there and just sort of take it. Oh man, Roman chuckling when he says, "You're the champion. You can't get Roman. You can't get Roman. Send Drew." Oh man, it's such a good moment.
It's so good. It's so good. Edward Munoz asks, is there any chance we could get a Q&A with Triple H one day? I mean, it depends on his availability. Usually we're lucky if we get what?
You know what, man?
3-4 minutes.
Oh, so SRDM says in our Twitch chat, Sean Ross Sapp tweeted, the AEW video game definitely isn't coming out this month. I thought I saw. Yeah, I thought that's what he said.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Wait, what was did you just have a question?
Triple H Q&A one day. I said depends on his availability. He's a very busy man.
February 25th when we do our subathon.
Oh. Try to get him for like 5 minutes for a Q&A.
Sure, why not? Yeah, absolutely. What does this say? Fourth Hammond. I don't know what this is. Fort Hammond says completely unrelated to wrestling, but always wondered if Steve had any affiliation, any British sports teams when he lived here. I was a child, and although I remember like Premier League stuff, I don't even know if it was Premier League then, it was so long ago, being on the TV a lot, like it was just sort of in the ether because we lived there. I didn't have any, I was like a kid, so I didn't really care. Like I was like, oh, I like watching this stuff, and I played a bunch of soccer when I was a kid. And we play like other British teams would come in and we'd play against them, and they're always better than us because it's like in their DNA. But no, I didn't. I loved my time there. I had a blast, but didn't have any, like nobody on base really was like, oh, we want, Tottenham, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Even though
Arsenal, yeah.
I think Tottenham is like closest to where we were.
Gotcha.
That would have been our team if location mattered.
Yeah.
No, it was a much bigger, like I remember vividly when one of them years it was what was it, the Niners versus the Bengals, I think in 89 or something like 88. I remember vividly like people caring about American football because it was an American Air Force base. So like people cared about American stuff.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break here because for those watching on YouTube, do us a favor. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a like.
400 people watching right now. We have 100 likes.
Give us a like, please.
Let's try to get that up before we...
Mayor Planet Houston here says, how does MJF have all that money? We know Tony Khan isn't paying him that much. In kayfabe, he's always been wealthy.
So, yeah, that's the thing. In kayfabe, he comes from money. So, like, he's independently wealthy. It was in kayfabe, he had money. On principle, he wanted all the money from Tony Khan. Mm-hmm. So it's not just like, oh, now I've got money. He's always had that, hence the Burberry thing.
Yeah.
Even though that's not legit. Like kind of anybody can get. It's really not that. It's not that indicative.
Well, it's a pretty expensive
wealth.
Scarf. It's like a $300 scarf. That's pretty pricey for a scarf.
That's expensive for a scarf for us. For like an actual rich person, that's like nothing.
Oh, that's nothing. Yeah.
Nikolai says, should Sami Zayn return to his previous theme song?
You mean like the one he had in NXT or the one he had before joining the Bloodline? I think the character needs to go through more progression before we get back to that the ska theme. You can't just have him show up on SmackDown with that theme. It's not going to fit his current state of mind.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to do that. I really don't. I don't think that. That the ska theme was fine. Like I don't know if he wins the tag titles, if like he comes out and he's happy and everything's good again, maybe, I guess. I don't know. I didn't think that there was enough of a departure from. I mean, I know the newer theme is different.
Yeah, it's not ska at all. No,
I know, but like, it also didn't really. I don't know.
It didn't stand out at all.
He dances regardless. Like he still does a goofy dance. I don't know that in tone. I guess it was different.
Yeah. It's pretty, in terms of tone, it's significantly different.
Well, I know, but it's not like it's like doom and gloom.
No.
It's really not that. It's not that much of a departure, to be honest with you.
You can't sing along to the other one. His NXT one, you can.
You just did.
Yeah, but it's not like, oh. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, like, people sing along to Sammy's old thing. They don't do it to the new one.
It's not that big of a difference. Let's see here. That's it. That's all the questions I have.
I got one more from Luis Ariza. What AEW wrestlers would benefit in Triple H's WWE? Luis here says Brian Cage and LFI. I mean, Brian Cage is a really good wrestler. Still, it's the same thing from a character standpoint. Who is he? You know, and until he or him and Triple H could work that out, I don't know if his situation would be dramatically improved.
He's a machine.
Yeah, what does that mean?
He's made of metal and gears.
Okay.
Maybe some wires, like a positronic brain. If
all right. Well, how does that inform who he is?
He's trying to figure out how to be human.
Then that's okay. Then let's see that story play out. We don't see that.
Oh yeah, sure we do. You know, he gets in the ring and he does a bunch of cool shit.
I guess maybe in terms of learning geography or something like that. The layout of the United States. Where's the street fight? He's asking.
Right. Yeah. And then he gets criticized. He's like, "Oh, I don't understand humans. He called me a big dumb bitch."
Yeah.
But
we don't see that play out on TV.
But I can computate 3 million, algorithms per second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. He had a lot of personality when he was in the background on the Impact streams when it was his wife doing, when she was like in her bedroom, just being like, "Hey guys," and then she has to like skip over a bunch of rude comments in the Impact Twitch chat. No wonder they shut that down. It was a fucking cesspool.
It was.
Poor Melissa Santos. But yeah, he's a father of a lizard. He's got a little lizard named Lizard Steve.
That's true.
How could we work with that?
I mean, does he bring Lizard Steve to the ring with him?
And then he's like,
"Lizard Steve, where are you?
Where's Lizard Steve?" And they're like, Don't tell him. It's that stain over there. No,
Lizard Steve.
It's like John Wick. He's like John Wick, but with a lizard instead of a dog.
Yeah.
There's your character. We cracked it. Pitch that to Triple H next time you talk to him, maybe.
There we go. All right, I'll do that.
Yeah, I remember we made a Melissa Santos emotes to use in the Impact Twitch, and then she thought that Impact had made them, and we're like, no, they still have Scott Steiner emotes. Like they have completely, out of date. Like they have emotes people who are in NXT right now.
Yeah, they're pretty antiquated emotes, yes.
But in that moment she was very happy, so I didn't want to try to explain, we made them.
Yeah, it's gonna complicate the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. You can get your merchandise right now. FriendoShop.com. Use the code RUMBLE to get 20% off. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.